thing about the program was we all talk about this is not the time to spend money, not the time to spend money. It seems like somebody made the decision, hey, this is not the time to spend this money, and they yanked the program. Now, they yanked it without much giving any knowledge to people who were already enrolled in the program. So if you were enrolled and you were going to go to class, you had your money yanked all of a sudden. My question is, we're giving this to military spouses, and I actually tried to find the number who were enrolled in this program, and I couldn't. But $6,000 per military spouse to go ahead and do this. My question was, is that a good use of our money at this time? Because Congressman Nye has lobbied, and successfully.
And I will say, as the moderator, anyone who has been paying attention to Congressman Nye will understand that he has a number of press releases out on this given subject. So I do think it's a fair question from that context.
And he has been courting the military in our district. He's looking very pro-military. Okay.
So 1 minute.
I'm going to start all over again?
Yeah.
Okay. Once again, I don't know the current form. I don't know what he's lobbying to get back. You know, I don't know the details. So I would be a liar if I were up here to try to explain my position on it. I apologize, I don't have a position on it. If anybody wants me to get back to them with a position on it, just raise your hand, we'll write your name down. No one cares. I didn't say that. No one cares for me to respond with my question on that.
Yeah, we care about you.
Okay. I will send you my response once I read up on it.
I look forward to it.
Okay, the next person to respond is Mr. Taylor.
Take this out of my hand.
What was it? How were we supposed to answer into what context? I'm sorry.
Answer in the context of, I'm going to change your question.
Sure.
Okay. The question is, Congressman Nye has been doing several things for military families recently in the news. One of them is working very hard to restore the MyCop program. When we are talking in the context of spending cuts, do you think that these types of programs for the military are programs that should be continued?
I think that we need to support our military spouses. We need to support the military in any ways that we can. I'm not advocating increasing spending for the military, but I am advocating smart spending for the military and using programs like the ones that were just passed in Congress last year that allows for smart examination of weapon systems when they're being built, common sense. I want to support our military however we can, and that obviously includes military spouses, which is arguably the hardest job in the military. But I will also touch on our debt deficit, which is one of the reasons why I feel compelled to run for Congress. And there are many of you out there in a generation that is being stole from you, money-wise. We have got to reform our major entitlements, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, or else none of us, if you were born after 1970, will get any of that. And you have been paying into it if you're working currently right now. So we have got to have folks up in Washington with backbone to reform major entitlements, work on debt and spending, certainly support our military folks, and make sure that we're spending money smart within the military. Thank you.
Mr. Mississauga.
Thank you. One of the more details part of my platform is I'm going to vote no against more federal spending. That's reckless. On the other hand, I said I'll be voting yes to helping to support our military men and women, our veterans, and their families for all the great sacrifices they've made. This program is part of military compensation. One of the great costs of serving in our military today that is really not recorded is that the spouses cannot establish a career. And more of our military now are not single soldiers, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen. They are sailors. They are married. And a lot of married couples want to have two careers. So I will support this program. Having said that, Mr. Nye is voting like a Republican. He's voting for the military. This is the most military district in the nation. It deserves special treatment because of all the great sacrifices our constituents make. But right now, I applaud him for doing that. I just think he's going to change his voting record after 2010 if he's reelected. So I want to make that clear.
Mr. Malbeck, I'm going to give him another opportunity to actually answer. Mr. Loyola actually is supposed to go at this point. I'll give you the opportunity after he goes.
The sacrifices our military men and women around the world give is utmost. Obviously, their life is on the line. It's amazing to go see a 8.5-month deployment, a 9-month deployment, and come back and see a child there that was born is now nearly 9 months old. It's a huge burden on families trying to keep the family together when one of the persons in the marriage is away serving overseas. There are missile silos or areas around the world that you can't even take your spouse. You're there for 2 years. Dissociation, away from your family, only communicating via internet. So there are programs there like this program here trying to help them out, and they're numerous. And you have to look at why our government now is slashing defense spending $33 billion, 5% of the 10% that was promised. That would be $60 billion that will be slashed. And in that, there are not only defense dollars, but money to support not only the warfighter, but also their families. And I'm against that. I will always support the veterans. I will always support their families, whether they come back healthy or they come back injured, and we must ensure that we take care of them. Thank you very much.
Mr. Malbeck.
Okay, now that we changed the question, Bree, I won't owe you an answer later. Okay, and I appreciate making it more global. And I do support programs to support the military. I mean, we are sacrificing, and it's a good point. That spousal program, it's sitting right in front of me. My wife of 20 years who stood by me with 2 children, who said, you know what, Ed, you're not leaving me here with a 3rd kid. Anything we can do. We would have had more children. But yes, I support smart programs, smart, effective programs to support the military. They're sacrificing a lot. We're in a long, drawn-out war, a couple wars right now. Thank you.
Ms. Hammond.
Great job. This is actually a program that I would look at in terms of making some changes to it. I have a friend whose husband is in Special Forces, and she went through Tidewater Community College and then through the program, I think here at ODU, for speech pathology. And she came out the other side with 0 debt, and she did not use this program. She got scholarships based on her grades and her application. And so I think there are cases where people can utilize already existing programs to pay for school, and this isn't something that everybody needs to utilize. When I look at forums and I look at how this program is being used by spouses, it's not always being utilized in the best way. So I think looking at this program and looking at what it would be used for and being a little more clear about that, it's time to do that as we reinstate it for those who really need it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Malbeck, choose the person who, first of all, put your arm up if you would like to ask a question on behalf of Mr. Malbeck. Okay?
All right, Mercury, don't throw me under the bus. Do I go first or I go last?
No, go last.
Okay, throw them under the bus.
Mercury Starkzer, former chair of Health Public DC. With the federal government pretty much expanding out of control, and we talked a lot about states' rights that are diminishing, as we know. 3 things like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security going bankrupt. Should we, in the future, maybe remove that responsibility from the federal government and have those programs delegated to each state to their own?
This actually marries a question that I couldn't ask you, but it goes along with today's Tea Party activities and the Virginia sovereignty issue. With so much federal spending seeming to be driven by Congress ignoring or circumventing the 10th Amendment, will you stand with the steps that Virginia has taken to fight this, or will you side with the federal government? And we'll start with Mr. Taylor. It's the same general question. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Mercury, you want to ask your question again, real quick? I think it's a 10th Amendment question.
I understand his question. It's actually not just 10th Amendment. I am a supporter of states' rights. However, those 3 major entitlements, I'm not for abolishing them, I'm for reforming them. And I'm for doing that immediately, because they've known it for decades that it needs to be done, Democrats and Republicans, because no one's had the backbone to tackle it. You need to look at Medicare, which is growing the fastest, and the Heritage Foundation puts it at, you should put it at a specific percentage of GDP, and if it gets past that specific percentage, then it should trigger something, so you look into it and find out why. You should also look at it every 5 years, where currently right now it's automated. It's on automated, just pay it. It's just going out of control and nobody has to deal with it. Well, that's the problem. So those things have to be dealt with. Social Security, same thing. There's a 1-2 punch that just happened. Baby boomers. baby boomers just started going into Medicare, they started drawing Social Security. So